Okay, finally, all the electronics is hooked up. Now, three things we had on the agenda for tonight
I brought all this stuff because I didn't.
was Heritage Wind, correct me? Heritage Wind tonight, going over the documents on that. The battery storage
Yeah, I knew.
law, get that moving along because we had the public hearing on that. And AES, insofar as all the paperwork, we got everything taken care of there as well. So we've got three major topics here. To let you know, I received today, once the internet was back up and working, I received that the county had looked over the road use agreement with Heritage at last week's meeting, and they approved unanimously the resolution. The resolution was 7 ayes and 0 nays, 0 absence. This was the 28th, which was last Wednesday, wasn't it? And without reading the whole thing, I do believe it's pending approval by the town as well. But they approved the road use agreement, and it is, I have the signed document here by Lynn Johnson. They also took a look at the AES, was it? Yes, right here. The solar agreement, this is the pilot between Orleans County, Town of Berry, and the Albion Central School District. They looked that all over as well, and once again, pending agreement or approval by the town as well as the school district. They approved unanimously, and it is signed by Lynn Johnson once again for the pilot between ourselves, the school district, and AES and town. So just to let you know about those two, like I said, they just came in the mail today.
Have you had any conversation with them, Sean, as far as what they were doing? They're gonna be doing this with the county?
About what now?
Just said that they, okay, road agreement.
Oh, on Heritage now.
Yes.
Yes.
It's gonna have to go back in front of the town, we're gonna have to look at it.
Yes.
Did you have conversations with them?
With the county?
Yeah.
None.
Okay.
None. I didn't even know this was going before the county board.
Right.
It is the most recent road use agreement as we have as well in our hands. Now, where did I put that? I just grabbed everything and ran in here. Host community agreement. There we go. Now, I also received over the weekend, I only ran one copy off. And this is the newest, I believe I sent this to you as a clean copy. The HCA with the changes made by Laura Darling, the attorney for Heritage. Now I've got it with blue lines in it and the changes and everything else. I also have Lance's comments about some of the changes he wanted to see taking place. And I believe that a lot of it, some of them have not, but because like in section 20.3, intentional versus intention, the word intention is in there, which really doesn't sound appropriate. It should be intentional. So I think there's a couple of changes that still need to be made based on what Lance had said when he read it over. to let you know also, Lance is on vacation all this week, as well as, Lee. She's on vacation visiting her grandchild for the first time. It's over a year old. Because of COVID, they haven't been able to see their grandchild, so her and Dan drove out to Wisconsin, thank you. So they're out there all this week, soaking up some of that little baby love. Okay, so HCA, anything with that? Let me know.
Show me your
Can
copies.
we, yeah, here, I'll pass that down.
I just wanna,
Did you got that carry on with you?
I have, the old one with my comments, I wanted to compare it to the blue line, but I think that's, can you send me the stuff electronically or?
oh, this
or
is
you'd
your
like
new
to-
copy, Sean?
That's the newest one that I have.
I have the clean copy, that you did send that one out, I do have the clean copy, but I don't have the red line or blue line.
If I can pull up, this is all new and I've never tried getting my email on this.
Well, when my computer was working, I got, I think the same one you're talking about, Gary, as you reviewed it, but I couldn't make head or tail on it. The lines showing everything, I didn't know what was supposed to be there and what wasn't supposed to be there or anything else.
Okay,
Did you guys get the version that we sent on Thursday, or this?
This is the version from Thursday, I believe, Thursday or Friday, that finally I just saw.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't send that one out to you guys. Yeah, I just got that on Thursday.
Okay, you can pass this back to him,
the one,
cause I don't have it.
okay.
Because Lance said there was a typo in some table of contents comments that Lance had that we fixed in the Thursday version.
So that's what I have that one, but without blue lines.
Yeah, and Laura's getting me a version of that as we speak, so I will forward it to you as soon as I get it.
I appreciate it, cause I can't, it's gonna take me a little while to get my emails here.
No problem. Yeah, it's great.
Do we wanna maybe move on to one of the other topics and come back to?
Well, we got the decommissioning as well from Heritage. Now, I do believe with that one, I ran off a copy of, is that the one that you sent comments on? No.
No, I sent comments on the AES.
Okay, so let's stick with Heritage for right now.
So we're doing the decommissioning?
Yeah, if you look at the decommissioning
Yep.
agreement,
Yep.
any comments or discussion on any parts of this?
We are
Didn't-
going to be without salvage value, right?
Yes, I do believe so.
Does this have to go to the county?
I don't believe
No, I don't.
this is the time.
I can't see it, but I mean, the county gets into everything anyway.
I don't think it has to. Lance would be the one to answer that, yes or no. You can ask him next Wednesday night.
Okay.
I don't have any of those shown in front of me, it could be on that computer, but I can't get it.
Carrie, you have
I
any
have a-
problems with your new computer?
No, his is having issues. Mine has been okay.
Margaret, has yours been okay?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll have to make a call to Joe and have that checked out.
It wouldn't even let me, like, it came up, he was showing me the error. I couldn't even, there's a QR code that you could scan to try and figure out, like, troubleshoot it,
Yeah.
and it would shut off before I could even get the QR code to read.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
In the, project overview, in the wind turbines, it says that they're gonna be using the 33 GE, which is a 5.5 megawatt.
Where's this now?
On page,
Oh, you've got this one here, okay.
three
With
dash,
this from December of 2020.
it says revision number 3, yes. Oh yeah, so is this the one that I'm supposed to be looking at?
Well, this one here, I thought, once
I
again,
thought this was the one.
and this is the one I sent out, I got it dated here July 31st.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was going off of what I had, I thought what you had handed me at the last meeting, right before I left.
Well, that's what I had before, when I said that was the most recent one I had, and then I got this since our last board meeting.
Yeah, so the decommissioning plan is the GE turbine, we won't change that until we would file a compliance filing in the 94C process. The decommissioning agreement is between us. The plan is the state filing.
But we still need to make sure, right, that so the decommissioning plan that we're reviewing should be in line with so like, I mean, I think this is kind of a big deal. If this is, we're saying 5.5 megawatts, which would be 181 instead of 186 megawatt project, which would change, just like already ahead of time, change the HCBA amounts and everything too. And we want to make sure that everything that we have is in line, because if we already know that 94C is going to say, oh, we will usurp the towns, they already have done that. So we want to make sure that everything is in line and done properly.
Yeah, and that plan will be updated, it's just, when you file the Article 10, you have an array of turbines, you have the GE, the Vestas, and the Nordics. So I don't remember who chose to go with GE for the decom plan, but our final decommissioning plan will be updated. And that's why we have the HCA and all of those things set up to not get us stuck in megawatts, because it'll go, if let's say, like, our final turbine is the Vestas 5.6, whatever it ends up being, if you guys if it goes up, you guys want to get more megawatts, you want to get more money. So, yeah.
It also, I mean, in all reality, on the business aspect of things, it looks better for you guys, and this has been one of my concerns from the very beginning. It looks better for you guys to say that you're using a higher megawatt turbine, because then our HCA amounts are going to be higher, our pilot amounts are going to be higher, and that's what everyone is looking at, those numbers. And I understand what you're saying, but I think that everyone on the board has been asking for, well, what are the numbers going to look like? What is this going to be? And then we're going to end up with a smaller megawatt project, and it does just kind of change how things. I know what you're saying, as far as
you
the
probably
amounts.
know, the GE was taken out anyway because of our noise surveys. We could not follow the NRO protocol with the GE because it wasn't available. So right now, our only turbine is the 5.6 that's in contention, but when we filed, we had 3. If that makes sense.
Okay.
So GE is out of the picture, but it is what's in the plan.
But the decommission,
And the plan is more of like a process. Like they put a project description based on like what was filed, but we also filed over a year ago, so like, I don't know if I'm making sense.
Well, I think that the other thing too is that, like, this study, the consultants were going, that's what they were using for their methodology. So when we're looking at the salvage values, I mean, we're looking at, they're using a different model than what, and I know that there may not be drastic, like, huge differences, but when we're talking numbers for our bond and for making sure that a decommissioning, that enough funds are available, we want to make sure that we do have an accurate number. And I think that, I think that's
true. And I mean, I would presume that the contingency fee would cover any minor changes between the turbines, because what, 10%? So, if like from a bond perspective, the contingency definitely will cover it, and it has to be revisited every 5
years.
So it's gonna be ever changing anyway.
the number that you have in this most recent decommissioning plan says 184.8 megawatts, which is based on the Vestas.
5 months, yeah. Which is, in our current 94C filing, all that's in there. But, as you guys know, we transferred from Article 10, so the decom plan is from Article 10. And we weren't required to update it because it's more for a process standpoint. And we will have a final decommissioning plan that will have the most up-to-date costs. The application of the decom plan is expected to change by the time you build because the process takes so long. The decommissioning agreement that you guys have in front of you, that is more for logistics of payment, so like how we're gonna do the security, how the town's gonna access the payment. Cause that was part of the town law that we weren't in compliance with, so this is us getting there.
So, I just wanna make sure that because I'm not thinking that I'm looking at the right thing right now.
Should look like that.
I don't think I have,
I got this.
and it's not part of the HCBA, it's not under that.
No.
Yeah, I don't have this. This is what I got at the end of the meeting. Do you want me to look through that, or do you want?
Go ahead, look at this one. Right now.
I can get you a digital copy too.
Yes, please. I think this is probably a Lance question, but, for the recitals at the beginning, should we say, we acknowledge that they're in the 94C process, and that's where they will be looking to receive their permit. But that, because what we were saying at the last town board meeting is that we didn't put in an appeal because we're gonna try and hold them accountable in our HCA for our local town laws. Do we wanna put something in here that says as much in the recitals? Whereas the 94C process has stated that, based on this, something along those lines. I don't know what the legal verbiage would be.
Jot that on there so that we can ask Lance about that, please.
discussion. Let's keep that to consideration this week. Okay, this is another, probably the last question. Notwithstanding the foregoing, this is under the, term, section 1.2. I don't know what this means. Notwithstanding the foregoing, the company's duty to indemnify the town in the event the town has to carry out decommissioning activities shall survive termination of this agreement for a period of 2 years. Company's duty to.
What number was it here?
It's section 1.2 in terms, and it's the last sentence. So I just,
You got a page?
no, it doesn't have a page. It's the second page. It's the top of the second page. I don't know if this is what it actually means, but my reading would be that if the company, for whatever reason, doesn't take care of decommissioning, and it falls to the town to do that, decommissioning activities shall survive termination of this agreement for a period of 2 years. I don't know if that means that, like, the town has 2 years to do the decommissioning. Or the town only has 2 years to make sure that they get all of the funds. I guess I'm just. I'm unclear on what that means. I mean, it's probably just because it's legal jargon. Any idea, John?
No, not without taking a look at it at the same time right there. That's why I'm still struggling trying to find my email here.
I'm also asking about it too.
Okay.
I don't know yet.
And it may be nothing. I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna pretend to answer it. Like, I don't know.
It sounds like it's better for the company than for the town.
That's what I'm thinking, but I don't know for sure. So it's fine.
And Sean, we got a number of these things floating around. I don't wanna chop any more trees down.
Yeah, I know, that's why I've been trying to avoid.
I would suggest that we put these, we get one copy, throw the other ones wherever they wanna go, so we aren't working, everybody's working off a different copy. And we can go through this experience going through that tonight, we, to change them. Then try to get them changed so everybody's got the same copy.
I agree, and that's why, sure, that's why I wanna get into my email here.
Well, I hope you're having better luck than Margaret, because she can't find it on her either.
Everything that was on my Chromebook was supposed to be transferred here, and it's not here.
So if you, because we have the 2 emails,
Right.
so, it may be on, you wanna check both the new email and the old email.
She did.
Oh, okay, never mind. That was my only, alright, sorry.
I've tried very diligently to make sure I send to your new email, the town email versus the Gmail email.
I still check both, and when I send them out, I send them to both, because I figure just in case.
When I click on the Gmail, I got nothing.
Oh. Right, yeah. I didn't find anything when I searched, but all of my old emails are still there.
I don't know what copy you're on.
It just says Heritage Wind Project decommissioning agreement, 7/31/21 is what in Sean's writing, handwriting.
Is that the one he's marked up on the edges here?
No, that's not it.
I don't have this.
Yeah, he marked on the edges.
Right, because I did have that, but I don't have, well.
Did you have a hard copy or an email copy?
I have an email.
I don't have a
I
copy.
didn't get an email copy of that. I did get an email copy of the HCBA from Friday, but I didn't get the,
I think I got that when I spent 3 hours ago in that email, so it's on that computer.
I don't know, it seems like we're killing a lot of trees.
like, but. Okay, so my next comment, and I'm writing these right in here so you have
Good,
them.
good.
Article 2, never mind, that was just, I needed to read it twice, to replace decommissioned turbines. But they have to, it just is, they have no obligation to replace them, but that they do have to take them down.
Take it down,
Right,
yeah.
okay. Okay. The execution of this agreement.
Okay.
Yeah, if you decommission it, I don't think you replace it.
Right. You never know, they may want to,
Well.
but probably not. Right. You would think they would just fix it if it was an issue.
Right.
Not pursuant to, but pursuant to town law. So I wrote this in here, but section 2.2 restoration and standard of decommissioning. It says decommissioning shall also involve site restoration activities, restoration that are required pursuant to the permit. And I think anywhere we have pursuant to the permit, it should be pursuant to town law. Or town law, and like, because the permit, they have already said it's not gonna be in line with our.
I'd have to look at the wording on that. I'm looking right here.
Standards of decommissioning will be set forth in the bounds of decommission how you can improve that or as
I just sent you guys the digital version.
perfect, thank you. That would be really soon.
Okay, July 30th, I did send you a copy of the HCA, the newest copy,
Right.
only it is a clean copy, not the one where Laura had made all the corrections and everything. It was a clean copy that I sent you,
Right.
and that was
But
last Thursday. Last Thursday, last
Friday. But the decommissioning was not in that.
I don't know. No,
Yeah,
not in,
there wasn't an updated version of that.
no.
I'm just gonna highlight the things. I'm gonna hand this to them in just a second. I'm just gonna highlight what I have questions on.
Okay. Yeah, this is what I have right here, right now. This decommissioning is the same one that I had.
So what page do you want to look at?
I'm looking at the second page.
Second page.
Yeah, so the notwithstanding the foregoing, that question that I had, that one is at the very top of the second page.
This is section
Just above Article 2.
Yeah, section 1.2 terms.
one.
Yeah.
We got a copy now.
Okay. So I just wasn't exactly sure what that meant. And then, section 2.2, the restoration and standards of decommissioning. That one says decommissioning shall also involve site restoration activities, restorations that are required pursuant to the permit. And then it continues on and says the standards of decommissioning and restoration will be set forth in the final decommissioning plan to be submitted and approved by ORES as a compliance filing prior to construction and thereafter appended hereto as Exhibit A. And the company's responsibility for restoration in the context of decommissioning shall not extend beyond the requirements of the decommissioning and site restoration plan. And I have a hard time with that because I think that's what Lance was saying. That's where we can make sure that they're following the town laws, because the 94C has already said they don't have to. And so if we put in here that we're okay with what the 94C, and we know that that's not going to be completed until after a permit is approved. I think one is we shouldn't agree to anything like this before we know what that actual final thing is going to be, if we leave it as is. And if we were to change it, it should be changed to meet what our local law has. I'm caught up now on so I'll let you.
No, that's all right.
No, because I can do it on here now.
Oh,
So
okay.
I've got it on here, so
Okay.
you can follow along and see what.
You know exactly what's different between the regulations, requirements for restoration and the town law?
No, because I don't because like if your guys' plan, I know what like there was the letter that was sent for the appeal, or not for the appeal, I'm sorry, for where there were differences between the town law and there were some differences in the decommissioning specifically. I know the biggest one off the top of my head was the salvage value, and not including that in there, and I know that that's different, but I guess that, I would, my personal preference would be to have it state, that the local law and permit, whichever is more stringent, or the most, would be followed.
I don't think we legally can go off of the standardized regulations though. I don't know if that's an option.
I think you can always do more, you can't do less. Like, you wouldn't be able to do less than what the state standards are, but you can always do more, there's nothing that says you can't.
But if the regulations are, or if the standardized regulations are permit, we have to follow the excessive permit that's issued.
At a minimum. So like, say that
The state's probably not gonna, like,
say that the state, here's an example. Say that the state regulates that you have to remove, the foundation up to 3 feet, of where the turbine is. And our local law says 4 feet. So you couldn't say, well, I'm only gonna remove 2 feet. You couldn't do less than what the state requires. But the state wouldn't penalize you for removing 4 feet.
true, but how could that, like, how could you enforce it if it's the state's permit and the state is?
So we wouldn't be enforcing the states, we would be enforcing our town law, our local law, that would be the guiding jurisdiction.
But the state has jurisdiction over it, no
So-
matter what the town, like.
So that's where our problem lies, and that's why we're saying, so at our last town board meeting, when the town did not choose to appeal their, that we're not part of the 94C process anymore, what Lance was saying is that, you as the developer and the town would work together to make sure that everyone was happy in the decommissioning and the host community agreement, and that aspect of things. And that's where we would ensure that the town's best interests are being looked out for. And so that's where I'm saying that you're right in that you can't go less than what the state says, but there's no guidelines, there's nothing says that you can't do more.
So, is the town 4 and the state 3?
I don't know if that was just like off the top of my head, an example of where we may be different, where we wanna make sure that we look at those and have that outlined and have those things clarified. I do believe that the town is 4, but I don't know where the state regulations are on that.
Between 3 and 4, I can't remember.
So like, but I was just thinking like in general, like the way that laws are is that the state can have their laws, the town can impose more stringent regulations than what the state has. And like businesses would have to follow what that specific, they'd follow the state laws, but they would also follow the town laws.
But if we go and sign something that's different from the draft permit or the final permit, we could probably get in trouble for that.
Not
We
if
have to
it,
be careful on what we agree to.
well, of course, but it's not.
We do it too.
Yeah, but we wouldn't be asking you to do less than what the state's asking. We would be requesting more. And you're not gonna get, like, the state can't say, oh, you can't, like, if you as a company decide that you would like to, be more friendly to the community, you can't, the state wouldn't be able to punish you for that.
I think we'll have to go to the lawyers on this, because I'm not completely sure what's okay and what's not, and I don't wanna speak out of turn.
That's why I wish Lance was here so he could, it's the verbiage. I
Yeah, 'cause there
don't
is a
want
line,
to say
like, there's
one
some-
way or another.
Right, yeah, because there are some things that we can, like, from the law, that we can,
And there's a lot of this was discussed with Laura and
yeah,
Lance as well as Dwight.
exactly.
And I don't know which way to comment on.
Yeah, and if I don't know the specifics of the, like, law that if we're just doing all of the things, okay, I'd have to do that.
I think we need to bring it up to their attention so we get an answer on it. But I do know and agree with Carrie, if you can do more in most things, you can't do less.
Yeah, no, and
So
that's,
you're saying, Aaron, like the state says we'll use 3 and 4. The state says 3, town says 4. You're gonna do 3, we're gonna now probably have to negotiate. Are you gonna do 3.5 or 4?
and that's what I wanna understand from the attorneys, is like,
Right.
where does the town, like, I understand we're in a weird position because it's a state permit, probably, like, yeah, let's definitely take it to Lance and Laura, cause it's fuzzy to me.
I don't wanna get misquoted on something here, I don't have the correct answer, so
Yeah,
I'm not even gonna guess. I forwarded to you, board members here, what I received from Dwight today, which is the decommissioning that Carmen just sent to you. It's a clean copy of the HCA and the revisions copy of the HCA, which is the one, the copy that I think Lynn has right at the present time there. So you can take a look at those. Those I just received today from, like I said, from Dwight. And if you take a look at that HCA with the revisions, those were all the revisions. Laura made the changes and everything in there, and the adoption based on the meeting that we had early part of last month. And if you take a look,
Those are all looking like clean versions.
no, the third one
The third one?
says Heritage HCA revisions.
Okay, well, let me see if I open it in my browser. When I'm just looking at it, I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, the opening right now to make sure.
Maybe it was just my browser view, was it? Oh yeah, there we go. It was just, I do have the changes.
That's not red, at least on my computer in the office, there was all purple.
It's blue and red, yeah, so
Blue.
that's fine. Color doesn't matter.
No. What you can see, and you see Laura's comments on the right-hand border there as well, you'll see one area where is some red lettering, a sentence or two inserted. And when I hovered over it, it said from Barry. So I assume it's Lance's insert in there. It doesn't say specifically, like with Laura's, it has LD right there in the comments.
Okay.
Whereas the red one was just Barry.
Do you know if in Word you can do a comparison, like you can in PDF?
I don't know how to do that.
I feel like I should be able to.
I mean, at least with this modified copy,
Yeah, I can see what was,
what was deleted, what was included,
right.
or introduced. As you can see there, a list of exhibits. The town board resolution approved in the HCA, which isn't included in here. Scope of services for compliance monitor, which isn't included here. Exhibit C is the final decommissioning plan as approved as compliance filing, and the complaint resolution plan approved as compliance.
So when we signed, if we were to sign this host community agreement before a permit was given, we would be signing this without knowing the specifics of the decommissioning plan, of the complaint resolution plan, because those all could change. And so I guess that is.
They could or they might not, because like the decommissioning plan is between Apex and ourselves only.
No,
and
but
like for the complaint resolution and decommissioning plan, The standardized conditions are very strict, like, we can't go off, so like, whatever's in the standardized conditions, that's what's gonna be in the final permit.
So, but this is where I have a problem with it, is that we're not talking about, this is what the state has as, like, to me, those are the minimum requirements. But that this is our opportunity as a town to say, okay, we read through what these standardized regulations are and what they are, and this is where we feel like, yep, they're fine, and this is where we feel like, oh, we would like to see this done differently. And so I think that it's really, like, honestly, a big red flag for me is when, you know, the HCA, you guys had a pretty well drawn out document, and then all of a sudden, after we passed a resolution for saying that we get $0 from the pilot, we go back to the HCA and there's things taken out, like the $2,000 or the money that was going to come up front.
And that was because there was a miscommunication in there. Things got changed and it's all been put back in again.
That was all restored.
Okay.
And there's been some added, such as under Article 6, compliance filings and state citing permits, Section 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3. When I was talking with Dwight, he had extensive conversation with Laura as well as somebody at ORES. He didn't say who, but he said he had called ORES about that, discussing this. And this was to help protect the town even more. These are some of the issues that we were talking about adjudicating. And in working with Laura, we were able to get them covered in here, and it takes care of some of our concerns.
And those one-time payments were agreed to in a term sheet that has a resolution, so those couldn't have gone anywhere anyway. That was just a bad versioning. We never got rid of them, and they were all signed off on.
That is back in now with the 2 payments per year.
Where, I'm curious as to where that resolution was, or when that resolution was passed. Because I don't remember.
When did you guys pass that? Sometime last year.
We passed a resolution?
For the terms of the pilot. I think the one-time payments were also in there.
For the pilot, yeah, but I thought it was because we are removed from the pilot.
Yeah.
That was a separate agreement between the town and the developer, saying that we wanted those payments twice a year. Half
But in
on
order
the
for you guys,
anniversary or when it starts, and the other half like 6 months later.
right, but in order for you guys to break off the pilot, we had to have the original resolution saying, like, these are the allocations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we never, I don't think we passed a resolution on that.
We did on the allocations. We passed a resolution saying the town would receive 75% of the monies. We get 75%, and then the other 25% is divvied up between the county and the school district. School districts.
If I remember correctly, when that was presented, it was presented as not an agreement, but as this is what the county and the school districts are looking at. Would this be okay? Would we be okay with that?
No.
And I'll be curious. Okay.
No, it was on the allocation of the funds.
I can't remember if the one.
Here's X number of dollars that is put out by the developer, of which the town of Berry gets 75% of it. That's what we agreed on, was the amount of money that each taxing jurisdiction received. That was it. That's what that whole pilot was about, the pilot agreement that we had the resolution on. Remember, we had to do it a second time because IDA wanted it in specific language. Their attorney wanted specifically the verbiage to be the same, pretty much for the county, for the school districts, and for ourselves, pretty much the same.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you guys ever ended up making a resolution on the one-time payments, but we did agree upon
No,
them
we
in
did not.
2019. And that's like, you can't take that away. And nor were we planning on, like, that was not.
Yeah, we didn't do a resolution on the one-time payment, two-time payment, or whatever. Not on how we get the payments.
That's all in the HCA though.
Yes.
This is gonna take me a little bit to compare, to go through and compare. Do you want us, are we staying on the decommissioning, are we going to the HCA?
The decommissioning, or you got more on that?
Well, I was still reading through it.
I have something to add. So I did touch base with Laura, and she said that the decommissioning agreement is not about local law. So there's a gap on how the financial security is brought about. The state doesn't really have anything on it, and neither does the town. So this is so that we can have legally how you guys get the money.
Yeah. Okay. How we get the money and how it's tied up.
Yeah.
Can't
How it will
we,
be provided and how you can have access to it and things
Yes.
like that.
But I don't
Because
have the
state
paper.
doesn't address it, neither does the town.
can't we, you've got it on that computer, can't we get it on these computers? So we're talking on the same page, and the same thing?
Out of curiosity, turn your monitor on.
Well, with the,
Let's see what happens.
Yep.
You do have it? There you go.
yep. I mean, everybody's got copies, and it seems like we got different copies.
Well, then every time I had something, I ran off a copy for myself. I ran off a copy and stuck it in your mailbox.
Well, I haven't been to my mailbox, so
Okay.
it could be there. I didn't go there tonight. I thought I had copies, but I guess I don't. I got old copies. I just brought everything because I didn't know. Okay. Yeah. One more of these.
Is there anything else on the decommissioning? I just pulled that one up in front of you.
Yep, I'm still working my way through it.
And is there any part of this you want to go to? You got a hard copy of it right there. Don't forget to give that one back because Carrie put some comments on it.
Well,
So don't bury it here, so take it home
I'll
with you.
find it. I'll find it. That's it, isn't it? Carrie?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so this is another kind of legalistic question. But looking at section 2.4, failure to perform decommissioning and restoration, it says the company, to the extent permitted, will take commercially reasonable efforts to not to allow its access rights or easements to any portion of the project to expire until decommissioning and restoration of the site has been completed. And it seems like it's kind of a little bit counter, that's the last sentence of that paragraph. How, like, so, I mean, ideally, when it's time to decommission, the company will still be in business and the company will decommission it and we will be all set. Everything will be taken care of. Hopefully the town does not have to decommission this project. But that seems very subjective, reasonable effort not to allow, like, if something happens, they go bankrupt or they're not, you know, like we know that they're not planning on keeping this project. So I guess I just am wondering if maybe we should have stronger verbiage or include in their finances or something to, based on the number of leases and easements that they have, that would be included in the decommissioning process to ensure that those agreements are extended through decommissioning.
I'm sorry, you lost me in there somewhere.
Right, so are you saying you want a list of the land agreements that are currently under lease or easement, like,
Not
included in this? To like, is that what you're saying? I'm kind of stunned.
No, you're fine. So what I'm saying is that ideally the town is not going to have to go through and do the decommissioning. However, this is in this section. It's regarding, like, say you guys go bankrupt or the company that you sell to goes bankrupt or whatever happens, and it's the town's responsibility to go in and to decommission these projects. I don't think that it would be an issue. I honestly didn't think of it until I was reading through this, of the land use that we would need to be able to get onto this property and legally and decommission this, the turbine. And so my question is that in the decommissioning, we have this bond agreement to ensure that the funds are there to decommission this project. Say that the company, whatever company it is, ends up going bankrupt or something, and those leases or easements lapse, and so that property then goes back to the landowner, and we wouldn't necessarily have rights to get onto that property and to do what needs to be done as far as removal of the turbines. So my question is that do we as a town, as another assurance, want to include a percentage that would be then paid to the landowners, the lease and easement holders, to continue to ensure that those rights are maintained? Do you follow, or no, it's still not?
You lost me at the very end right there about providing funds to the leaseholders.
So the company is leasing.
They're leasing.
They're paying to have those turbines on that property.
Yes.
It's not owned by them. So if the company goes bankrupt,
Yes.
they're no longer paying the leases or easements. Those properties revert. Those agreements are then nullified and revert to the landowners.
So what you're saying is that we should have sufficient funds that we as a town would continue making those payments to the leaseholders until the decommissioning is completed?
Yeah. So that we have the right to go on the property and to.
Well, we
do
have the
the
right to go on the
decommissioning.
property as per this right here to make sure that the decommissioning is completed and the restoration is completed. So,
But this last sentence implies that we don't. The company, to the extent permitted, will take commercially reasonable efforts not to allow its access rights or easements to any portion of the project to expire until decommissioning and restoration of the site has been completed.
Well, it's saying that the company is going to push to keep those and enforce them. Right there.
But what is commercially reasonable efforts?
I don't know, you tell me.
That's what I have a problem with. I think it's subjective, and I don't think that it's specific enough to include in there.
No, I think it's getting right back to what we've been talking about. For the attorneys to look at it and see what needs to be worded.
Right.
I think that's a fair question. I think that's fair. Especially what is the commercially reasonable effort, I think we definitely owe you a response on that.
Yeah, when it comes to the HCA decommissioning and all these different components of this, Laura, Lance, and Dwight have been over this stuff several times, so we may find something different for them, but pretty much their feeling is this is pretty darn close to being complete this time, between those three attorneys. But the problem is, we don't understand all this verbiage.
Right, and it may just be that they'll clarify it, but I guess I just want, like, I think maybe the hat that they're wearing and the vantage point that they're looking at it may be different from the vantage point that we're looking at it, and so even though they may think legalistically that we have it taken care of, they're not necessarily looking at the specifics, like I don't know how I wanna say this, but like the end, and like looking at it fully from the town, that's our responsibility to make sure that the town is, like, I know they're looking at legally, like, are we gonna be sued over this? Is the town gonna have enough money to do this? Is that like, which is great, but I do think that that doesn't mean that we shouldn't still
Oh, I agree.
look at it closely.
That's why I asked for this meeting to be cover this stuff.
You may have to look at the wording as far as the leaseholders have, how that's stated too. Because Jerry's saying that if they don't pay them anymore, land is theirs, well, like that, this may be wording in there, they still have a right to go back in to decommission it. When they aren't paying for it.
This is the other thing that I thought specifically, maybe it was from the other, decommissioning from the AES one, but, I thought that Lance had said that we specifically want a bond with an A credit, this is section 2.6, decommissioning security. In here it says the decommissioning security shall be a letter of credit, bond, or other form of financial security approved by ORES. And I guess that's something that if we're gonna be the ones dealing with it, I'd rather have it accepted, approved by the town. Obviously, it wouldn't be anything less than what ORES would require. I just feel like the stance that ORES took in regards to the application and everything, made it really clear that they wanna do what they can for the developer.
So your suggested change is the security being approved not by ORES?
I would say that, the decommissioning security shall be, a letter of credit, bond, or other form of financial security, approved by both ORES and the town. Cause you're saying, we can't, like, we wouldn't wanna go outside of what the state, you know, I'm not saying that we would do something that's not in line with what the state, but we would wanna be like specific, so what Lance had said for the AES project was, an A credited bond, I believe. And so I think that something in line with that is what we would wanna make sure.
So I just wanna make sure I'm getting it right now. So you would want a different form or an additional form added to this?
I would, say, I would just add, approved by the Office of Renewable Energy Siting and the town.
Okay.
Just saying that we have some say in it.
I'm not sure we can do that, because state law, but I will make note.
In B, it says decommissioning security upon determination by ORAS that decommissioning has been triggered under Heritage Winds 94C permit. Town shall have immediate and unrestricted access to the decommissioning security for the purpose of carrying out and completing decommissioning.
Okay, what's the 6K?
Good question on that.
Where was that?
6K, to the
6K.
second paragraph, letter B, 2.6.B.
Oh,
Sites
Oh,
with specific conditions of 6.
that would be part of our draft permit. Or, yeah. Well, it would be the final permit as well.
Yeah, but what is it?
I can pull it up.
Also in section A, the next sentence, section 2.6A, the next sentence says, this financial security will reflect the total net decommissioning costs set forth in the final decommissioning plan. And the net decommissioning would include the salvage value, is my understanding. Because if it would be the gross, financial security will reflect the total gross decommissioning cost, but net would be with the salvage value subtracted.
When they say final decommissioning plan, is that at the time of acceptance by ORAS?
That would be it would come after, it would be between the certificate and construction. We have to do a series of compliance filings.
But we also discussed about revisiting this like every 5 years because of the costs of everything.
Yeah, we'll be required to update it.
And that's not stated in here.
Find 6K, Harvey?
I'm looking through this, it's a pretty long document. Let's see.
Do you have any idea what it is? How much for it?
It's their whole
I
application.
appreciate your faith in me, but alright.
We probably can find it quicker going out to the table up there, look at the new application set on the table.
I have the draft permit up, it's just, I can't control F6K, so I have to actually.
Well, we can ask them that, so we can ask. The thing of it is, we need to know what these things stand for.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they could throw anything, or we could throw anything at you too.
So 6K is, 6K. Goes up the page. Yeah. I think they meant to put 6H, honestly, because it's a percentage state law that I don't really read out loud. The permittee shall submit an updated final decommissioning and site restoration plan for wind facility to include details concerning the weight of salvageable material, approximation of percentage of material contained in each component, examples are tower, steel, nacelle, etc. Line items for each material's overall weight value per unit and corresponding salvage value, line items for access road installations, including line over stable and leak subgrade locations, and the civil works removal cost section, and the permittee's plan for repair of non-operational turbines due to manufacturer complications or other delays in excess of 1 year and beyond permittee's control, including requirements for notice to the office accompanied by supporting justification, evidence of permittee's commitment to diligently complete all work, and periodic status updates to the office during such occurrences. I think they meant 6H.
So that's supposed to be 6A then?
It should be, yeah, it should be H.
Okay.
H is in Henry.
And that's all in regards to salvage value, which we didn't want.
Yeah, that's the big difference between Article 10 and 94C. Because Article 10, salvage wasn't considered. 94C it is, so. Yeah.
But our town law says that it's not, so if we include and have to hold them responsible for,
So that's.
Something I believe with AES, that Baird project, solar project, and the Hemlock Ridge solar project, that we had told them that we were not considering salvage rights at all.
and they get, the AES project came back and we're okay with that.
So for my notes, what is the official request here? To add salvage, or you, if you can, you want salvage in here?
No,
Yeah,
Or you want salvage taken out of?
correct.
yeah,
And to be looked at, the timeline of like
Oh
every
yeah,
5
it wasn't
years.
put in here the every 5 years that we address this because of costs. Labor costs will go up, equipment to do it.
Materials.
okay, I'm gonna be a lot. No. Yeah, you gotta be real careful.
Alright.
I did have a question, and this was on the AES one as well. Why is this being sent to the town, for Berry Town Attorney? It's this address instead of Lance's office?
We wanted this generic because let's say it's 5 years from now and Lance is no longer the town attorney.
Oh, okay.
Therefore, it's sent to the town hall and it can be handed to whoever
Whoever
the
the attorney is.
future attorney is.
Okay.
Just like, supervisor, it's attention supervisor, not attention Sean Poe, because
Right, we don't know who, okay.
we don't know who it may be 5, 10, 15 years from now.
Okay. That makes sense. I was just thinking, well, what if it takes a while before he gets it, but that's fine, that works, I get why it's there now.
Anything else then?
No, I guess that, I still, cause it references the decommissioning plan in the application. And so it just makes it hard to make sure that we're being fully prudent and protected. That's just a comment. I'm gonna save my comments and I'm gonna email it to you right now, so that. But I did do them in the same format that I did the other, we're gonna hit the comments, you're gonna have to hover. I tried to highlight.
Just click on the bubble.
Yeah.
Okay. With the HCA, you guys wanna look at that some more yet, right?
Yes, please.
I'll reserve that for Wednesday, next Wednesday night then. Road use agreement, is there anything there? I think we went over that a couple of times. The county has approved it, Dale has gone through and approved it, and all three attorneys have gone through. And
Where was,
when I say county, yeah, I know the county voted on approved it, but I mean that the county superintendent had gone through prior to them voting on it.
that you had just sent out to us, right? The road. Decommissioning.
Well, this hasn't changed, I should have sent it to you some time ago.
What would it be under? Just road
Road
agreement,
use.
road use?
Agreement.
RUA. Or you may have put it, I would have said road use agreement.
Okay. Maybe it's under the email.
I just sent you a copy, Terry, just
Thank
in
you.
case.
And the bears one, they're not seeing. Oh, yeah, I don't have any, so what Carmen just sent me is I hadn't had it before. I had an email on June 29th where, Sean, you said you were trying to find it.
And I sent it to you at that time, right?
I got the HCA, no, it was both HCA's, it didn't include the road use agreement. So but I can look that over too, I probably won't have much if everybody else has already.
Dale went through it pretty good and put comments on it, so.
Yeah, Dale and the county guys spent like a solid year just going back and forth, so
Dale said he does not want to see it again.
I don't blame him.
Okay, I think it's fine. Okay. I will try to have this done, no later than Friday.
And then when Lance gets back, then we can barrage him on Monday. You'll appreciate it. See if we're going on vacation.
Okay. You already know how much you love my comments. So then, battery storage?
I'm gonna go to AES next.
Oh, okay.
Now, all of this, as per our last board meeting, has been sent to the county.
I thought that they were saying we had to do the public hearing before. That's what
One
that
attorney
is.
says this, one attorney says this, and everything else, and it's just like, okay, we're sending it to the county. The county got it. They sent me an email today stating that, let me go back to my inbox. Got a new gentleman down there working on that this time. Corey Winters. There it is. And according to Corey, now, their attorney, AES's attorney, Amy, had sent, she asked me if I wanted to send one. I said yes in good faith, that they send a thumb drive. This was last Wednesday. We tried getting all the documents in by last Friday. And between their thumb drive and what we sent in my mind, it's okay, we've covered everything. Everything has been sent in on the AES project to the county. They had sent back a nice little form that states that, number one, it wasn't signed by an official. I don't remember anywhere where it had to be signed by an official, by an officer's signature.
I think that's because we have to have a resolution.
That's the other part. Missing zoning referral form and copy of resolution of sending the project to the Orleans County Planning Board. So that's what we overlooked at our board meeting last month. Now, they still have it. There is a deficiency in your referral to the Orleans County Planning Board. They cannot take action on your referral unless the indicated items are resolved and returned to us by August 19th, which is after our next board meeting.
Right.
So we're gonna need to do a resolution to send it to the county. And even that, August 19th is gonna be after our public hearing, because that's on the 11th, prior to our board meeting.
Right.
So the results of that can be sent to them as well. So we will take care of those items. Like I said, at Wednesday's meeting, we can do a resolution on that, and I can send all that information to the county after that board meeting.
We're having a public hearing, right?
We're having a public hearing on AES, and we're also having a public hearing on the battery storage. Yes. So both of those prior to our board meeting next Wednesday. Okay, on the AES, comments on any component of it? Yeah, I kind of got my hands slapped by the county, because why is it that the attorney for AES has sent them a flash drive and the town they hadn't gotten anything from the town as of yet? And the problem was Lee trying to get that huge file sent to the county electronically, because we only have about half of it in hard copy. So she tried several different times, then she got help from Ricky at CNH, was able to compress it into the zip drive and able to finally send it to them, and they were finally able to open it. But they got the zip, they got the flash drive prior to them receiving our copy.
Do we wanna go through the, pilot first, or?
Sure, let's take a look at that. Everybody got copies of that, right? Let me try to pull that up there for you. Oh, I know. Okay, you got it, Lynn? Right in front of you there?
Yep.
If not, I got another hard copy right here if you want it.
Alright.
So with, the first comment that I have is just, which you already responded to, if this includes homes on the property's parcel, just because I feel like this is a pretty common thing to have on,
I'm sorry, on what now?
in regards to the pilot, on, the terms, I think it's, or, let's see here, hold on, recitals. It has the second to last one, where the last whereas, the parties intend that during the term of this agreement, the project will be placed on exempt portion of the assessment roll, and the owners will not be assessed for any statutory real property taxes for which it might otherwise be subjected under New York law with respect to the project. And I know that this isn't necessarily specific to this project, because as you mentioned, there are no structures on either parcel at this time.
So there's this specific project.
Right.
There is a home directly in front, right on that property line. There is a lot. Biddy, is it? B-I-D-D-Y is the name of the family that lives in that home right there.
Okay. But they're not, it's not part of the project. So my only thing is that if we get to a point at some point where there's like a large parcel and we're gonna be doing a pilot and there's a home on one of the parcels, just making sure that we have kind of clarified, and again, we don't have to do it for this one, but that we know, and I just wanna be careful of precedent, that like that building would still be, or that structure, the unused part of that project
Right.
would still be taxed appropriately. And I don't know if like for the Heritage Wind project or for the other projects that are coming along, Hemlock Ridge, or any other future projects, it's just a thought to keep in mind.
I misspoke, Carrie, when you had asked about the 15 years. I double checked on it. 15 years as per our law that we had passed is the extent of the payments. After the 15 years, it would be put on the tax roll. So if they go to 20 years on this project, starting with year 16, I thought we renegotiated,
Okay.
but we do not. It goes on the tax rolls as of year 16.
It'd be interesting to see what would, how that would be, at what point, I've heard lots of different ideas out there of how that would work. Okay. Okay, and then Lance has been out, so he didn't get to answer for the, section C of the pilot, payment collection, 5C.
C,
Yeah. All late payments shall accrue interest.
it's like 2C or 3C or?
It's 5C. Yep, payment collection right there.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that this section is also included in our HCA. You had responded that Lance would be able to answer that better.
Right.
Hi everyone, this is Amy from White House.
Yes, Amy, go ahead.
Hi, how are you? I just wanted to let you all know, I know you're going through the pilot negotiating benefit agreement. Right now, I know Lance is on vacation this week, but we have been over the past 2 weeks, I guess, since the last time we were before the board, been going back and forth with Lance on some comments that he had on both the pilot and the HCBA. So we're working on finalizing those right now, but one of the comments that he did have, similar to what I just heard one of the board members mention, is making sure that the integrities, the payment amounts are reflected in both the HCBA and the pilot. We have requested that we do that, so we've been modifying that language to make sure that those numbers are in both agreements, just for clarity purposes.
Thank you.
Yep.
That was all that I had for the pilot.
Anybody else? Legal notice for the public hearing on it for next Wednesday is in the paper there, dated July 16th, 2021.
We don't have to send anything out now. These were people.
That's been taken care of. That's been taken care of. Lee sent those out before she left for vacation. Amy, are you still there?
I'm here.
As far as the HCA is concerned, last I have some questions that Lance had forwarded to you. It was dated July 17th. Has there been anything new since then?
Let me take a look. I hope so, but give me a second. another draft responding to all of those comments. And I think I got another email from him saying that he was generally fine with how we responded to them, and he had, one comment he wanted us to clarify was going to be an A-rated bond. We're doing that, and then also, like I said, confirming the interest rates and making sure that they're accurately reflected in both the pilot and HCBA, but I think those were his final two remaining comments. So we are in the process of finalizing and approving that language now, and, again, everything I believe should be good to go. We'll obviously send it back over to him so he can take another look, and we'll send it to the board as well.
Do we have, because the last copy I have of an HCBA is dated June 14th.
Okay, yeah, then Lance has, Lance gave some comments, like I said, we provided an updated draft and things that we reviewed, so let me work on ensuring that those comments are all set to go, those draft, those revisions are all set to go, and then you can send over, an updated version to the board this week later. But like I said, Lance had, it was just a minor comment on some, language regarding kind of making sure that things that are in the pilot with regard to payments are also in the OT benefit agreement, for the OT, clarifying, like I know that you all discussed a few minutes ago, that the term of the pilot runs for 15 years, and after that, it's put back on the assessment roll. So we clarified that, and a few other minor comments. So once we get all that ready to go, we'll send it over.
Okay, good. I have, like I said, the last set of comments Lance had made was dated July 17th. And I have like 6 comments he put on here. Some of the questions he had on it. He also emphasized that he would want Labella to sign off on it and be in full agreement with it as well. Have you been in contact with Kathy Spencer on this? Or Josh, yeah, I forgot Josh's last name. I apologize, Josh, if you're on.
So from my understanding, he wanted Labella to sign off on, the decommissioning, which I believe he received, I think, he received an email from, Kathy Spencer from Labella earlier today, that was working in, he said, based on our current stage of review, we're comfortable with the revisions of the decommissioning plan, including the cost estimate. Once Lance returns from vacation, he wants to clarify the language in section 7 of the decommissioning, and, look at potential recommendations that include some photos that show the existing conditions to be taken now. But other than that, he seemed like he was good with everything.
Okay. Any questions, anybody on this, our older copy of the HCBA?
I did have, two comments, making sure I got it, hold on, I don't have the right one pulled up anywhere. Here it is. They were the ones that I had sent out at her.
And as pointed out, there's been a modification made, so that may take care of some of the
Right.
questions.
I had a question, one of my first, it was on the host fees. When I was reading it, it seemed like, I just wanted to check and see, it said, let's see here, per megawatt, I was just curious, is there a plus or minus on the anticipated, nameplate capacity, or is it pretty much just that at the, what is 4.5 megawatts?
Amy?
Oh, sorry. I believe it's 4.5. Also, I believe Andrew Gordon may get on the call. I'm not sure if he has to weigh in on that, but I believe it's set at 4.5.
Yeah, this is Andrew Gordon from AS. That's correct. There's no plus or minus. The nameplate capacity is exactly.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And then I did have a typo, but you probably already caught it, where it says, I think there was somewhere that should be a the instead of a this. Oh, section 1.2 terms, but there's like a lot of deleted portions. You guys probably already got that. My other question was, what is the estimated construction time for the project?
I would say roughly 6 months, probably a little bit less.
Okay.
Depends on when we start and what the weather is.
I just was and this isn't anything that's like a huge deal, and I would be okay with it being last, but it just says the company shall have 30 days after its receipt of such notice. Sorry, I should give you, we're talking section 2.1, engagement of the engineer. It just seems like it's a 30 days is a long time to advise the town in writing of any objections to the engagement of such firm to serve as the engineer. But I don't know that really, I feel like you guys will want to be moving as quickly as possible, and I don't anticipate us picking someone that you wouldn't agree with, but.
I think that's pretty standard language.
This one is for my fellow town board member. Section 2.5, quarterly reports. The company shall provide the town with reasonably detailed written reports delivered on a quarterly basis as to the status of the project until such time as the project is terminated. And we had talked about this when we were looking at the actual project as far as decommissioning and talking about if there's no longer electricity generation and things like that. I just didn't know, I feel like we could be a little bit more specific here and just identify what it is that we're looking to have in these quarterly reports. And I think that Labella would probably have the best idea of what to, outline. I know that I think the reason that we have these quarterly reports in here is for the potential of if there's some cells that aren't working and decommissioning needs to commence.
This is Amy. So, yes, I also remember that conversation where we discussed the quarterly report. And like you said, it was surrounding decommissioning, kind of to give the town board a sense that the project is still active, there's still electricity being generated. So, I think we can, if you'd like, we can reach out to Labella and see if they have any suggestions on what you would want to be included in the report. Unless you have specific ideas of what you would like to be in the report that we can just.
Something we understand,
Okay.
not too engineering, technological speaking terminology stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think like this, you know, that they're also operational, or if there was, you know, maintenance or like any issues or any that may have occurred during that quarter.
We're gonna be questioned periodically by residents as to, well, how do you know this, and what is going on there? We need to be knowledgeable about the output, everything's functioning properly. Oh, yes, yeah, you did see a lot of trucks in there, and that's because 2 of the panels went down, and they are in the process of replacing them. So, it just so that we are knowledgeable about what takes place and what is occurring within the facility.
Okay. So kind of like a status update on how the project is moving along.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to say thank you for section 3.2 and putting in there that the amount of decommissioning security shall not take into account any estimated future salvage values of the project. I appreciate that. My only other question, and this is probably of Lance, is section 9.1, compliance with the law. The company agrees that the project shall be constructed and operated in compliance with all applicable state and federal laws, rules, and regulations. Could we put town, state, and federal laws, rules, and regulations?
Are you referring to section 9.10?
Yep. Sorry, I did say that funny. I said 9.10 instead of 9.10. Yeah.
That's okay. Okay, we can look into that section, and discuss it then.
You wanted to put federal in there too, Chris?
Federal is already in there. Just
What federal, put also town laws in there?
right. That was what I was saying.
You gotta do all of them.
Right. So right now it has applicable state and federal, but it doesn't have town, and that's exactly what my comment was. Yeah. So we should have town in there. And that was it for me.
What's next? We're done.
We still have the battery storage.
Bye, y'all.
See ya.
See you later. How about the decommissioning? Attachment 3? I'm sorry?
Attachment 3,
Yes, attachment 3, decommissioning plan.
Okay, here it is. I got it.
I have mine. We went through. We went through the extended decommissioning plan, not just the attachment 3 decommissioning plan. This is what they had handed into ORAS.
Wait, are you talking Baird or are you talking,
Beard.
they submitted their decommissioning plan to ORES?
Or wait a minute, no, not the ORAS. This is what they submitted to us. Decommissioning plan, Baird Solar, ground mounted solar array, Gary, New York. This is part of their application.
Right. So I have.
You know, it's something I got thinking about, and I don't see it in here, Amy. When you talk about the decommissioning, you're talking about the equipment, the solar panels, the cabling, the poles to run the power over to the telephone poles along the road. What about all the fencing? I don't remember, and I don't see it right now, looking real quick. What about the fencing that surrounds and encloses this project? What about the berms? What happens with them?
I believe the fencing is taken down as part of decommissioning, and there's the actual decommissioning process more specifically than I could, but, yeah, if you look at the agreement, I think it's in section 2.1.
Yeah, I have that in front of me.
2.2.
Specifically, the perimeter fencing says, the modular frame, racking system, and all other metal project components, including service support posts, perimeter fencing, and gates will be demolished and removed from the site for recycling, salvage, or disposal.
What paragraph is that?
That is in section 2.1, where it says incidental demolish and disposal or recycle.
Yep, I got that.
2, 3, 4, I believe. Do you see that?
Okay, perimeter chain link fencing, yep, and gates.
Yep.
What about berms? You know, maybe the owners may want them left behind. Is that part of, where did I see like,
Cover 31, 2.2, I think.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah, I think the site, I believe site restoration would cover that, but I can double check
I'm just curious about that, that's all.
Okay.
I mean, you know, maybe, let's say it's going on my property and you would put those berms up, and I kinda like the idea of them left there, especially now with all the vegetation that's on them. That I, as the property owner, might say, please don't take those out. I'm just curious.
Well, you could put a sentence in there that, they could negotiate with the property owners what they want restored. But your second from the last sentence, I think, says it's gonna what we just do.
Existing and
By
mixing with
existing,
suitable
mixing
substrate
Soil,
materials
and put new soil, topsoil in.
to support revegetation.
Andrew, do you happen to know if that's something that's typically happen or if that's
Yeah, so typically the land will be restored in its original state. So whatever grade and fill is happening on the property, you know, we'll, you know, to a reasonable extent, put it back to its original state at the conclusion of the project. So landowner has a preference for, you know, something to be, sort of to remain, like, you know, hey, I'm happy to work with them, but, you know, the question would be making sure that, yeah, if we left the berm and, you know, our decommissioning plan spelled out that we're gonna restore the land to its original state, even though the landowner's preference, it still might be in violation of our decommissioning plan.
Exactly.
Some sort of amendment would be required at that point. I think that's probably a question for down the road. If it's in everybody's interest to leave some of like the groundwork that happened during the project, I wouldn't imagine it being an issue for everybody to agree on that amendment. You know, today.
Amy, reading over the form of decommissioning assurance here and talking about the bond, as Carrie pointed out before, Lance had requested a A-rated bond, not an A minus.
Yes, and we discussed that with him and some of our recent edits, to the host community benefit agreement, and we put, that directly into the HCDA that will probably be an A-rated bond.
Okay. without the hyphen, right?
Yeah.
How do we determine that it's inactive?
I think that's where the quarterly reports and having in there the specifics of what we're looking for will give us, that component.
As far as the inactivity goes, I think that someone, just mentioned that. Also, based on our previous conversations that I believe we had, maybe at the last town board workshop or the workshop before that, we did insert some language into the HCBA in section 3.1 regarding decommissioning, just to clarify, as I think Adam kind of explained before, that the project will become inactive when it's permanently disconnected from the grid, and not when it's temporarily disconnected if there's maintenance or repairs or some sort of equipment switch out that needs to occur. So we tried to clarify that as well.
Did you say, Amy, that the last you had, never mind. Oh, yeah, West Petey? And Adam replied to Wes from LaBella. That was back July 9th.
Right.
And Adam replied on July 13th. That's the last comments I have here from LaBella at this time.
On the decommissioning,
It was,
or just on Labella's comments generally?
I think it was just generally in there. Stormwater pollution prevention, tectonic, geotechnical report, decommissioning plan, Orleans County pilot agreement, pilot document, host community benefit agreement, DEC letter, and plan sheet C9A and C9B. And there was only a few questions from all those documents that he had raised. Well,
Do you remember? Okay.
there's like 34 comments. And I think there's gotta be something newer where,
Yeah,
Yes, thank you.
Which I believe has been resolved, I'm not sure, I think, AES's engineers may have spoken to Labella or tried to reach out to them, but let me confirm that, because I do think that there was about 3 comments left that we discussed at the last meeting that had to be resolved. So let me, confirm that tomorrow, and then I can send along an update about what's going on.
Okay. And yes, I did find copies of the letters from the federal soil and water, I believe it's soil and water, or wetlands or something like that, federal, stating that there was a 0 number of endangered species in the area of this project, that I included into our application we sent, or the copy of your application we sent.
I think that was the U.S. Fish and Wildlife.
Yes, that's it, thank you. Also the DEC letter, and I think there was a SHPO letter too.
Yep.
So all those were included.
Okay, perfect.
You heard me earlier where I got my hand slapped because of you?
Yeah.
Only because your flash drive got there before our documents did.
Oh, no.
They didn't appreciate that. That about it, everybody? Okay, and I guess we're done with AES. Anything from you folks there with AES?
I don't think so. We'll follow up on the pilot, the board, and then these comments we discussed, and we'll touch base about Labella's, few outstanding comments and get some resolution of that to.
Okay.
I think other than that, we should be good to go and, forward to a public hearing next week.
And when you're checking with Labella, make sure that it is very clearly stated that they are signing off on it as per what Lance had requested.
Okay, we will do that.
Okay. And we thank you very much. The sooner, Amy, you can get those to us there, results, then the sooner I can get it off to the town board members so that we can,
Okay.
have it one last look at it.
Okay, we'll do that as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you, Amy.
Thank you, have a good night.
You too. You guys wanna take a quick 5-minute break?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
What have we given you copies? I brought all this paperwork, none of it's any good.
No, we gotta get rid of all of this other paperwork, get fresh copies,
Yeah, or put it on this damn thing and we're all looking at the
the same thing and the same page on it, you know. Jeez, it's hard trying to follow them.
Well, let us stick around. the phone, check on my horse.
That phone call I got. Mark, going up by the road, for the zero turn, you went up by Gary's driveway, came over to down in, and just went right down into the pit. It was sad. Mark was up there with the four-wheeler and the winch, they couldn't move it. And so when I'm talking to him, some guy with a pickup stopped, you want me to help you? He says, yeah, if you want to, and then he texted me, he pulled
Pulled it
the
right
game
out,
out of
yeah.
the ditch, yeah.
This one, check on my horse.
This computer, do we leave it here and call,
It'd be best if you could call, you could do it from home, and he'll probably have you sign into their helpline where they take over remotely. And then he can tinker with it right that way remotely.
okay, I may come up here and see you and do it from here, so.
Put one of these little buttons on there, cause he told me if I needed help, just to push that. But it had to be when they were open.
Oh, yeah, I got that on there.
Yeah, instead of, it told me if I ran into trouble.
I know, I didn't even get that. Just says.
No.
No, it's device, some problem with the device.
Okay.
It's starting to download, and you just, what,
Quit?
and Carrie tried to do it, and she got it.
Yeah, well, couldn't see nothing.
Did you get the chicken dinner?
That was drive-through, I didn't.
Yeah.
No, you could sit.
Oh, you could?
You could? I thought it was lousy.
Chuck didn't, he would have rather had the potatoes instead of the corn.
But the chicken didn't have the flavor. No, maybe we just got two pieces that didn't get basted too much or something. I don't know.
Did you tell me they go through 1,000?
Something like that.
No, I.
Oh, yeah, they sold about 1,000.
Well, that's,
Wednesday
It's not bad.
night, the vendors were all out of fun.
Yes, and there were some that weren't out.
well, that's good.
Yeah, and I spent almost 40 minutes for a funnel cake.
I heard the lines,
Oh, on Friday, they were terrible. Oh my gosh.
because I think Kelly went up there.
But I think they did well on Friday.
They figured about
Oh.
27 to 28.
Remember, you're still on.
That's it. But, no, it was full. I mean, I think everybody just had a chance to get out.
I think that
Yes.
was it. People wanted to get out.
I didn't even hear it.
Not at the fair?
Yeah.
Friday night.
Yeah, I could hear.
Could you?
Oh, you down there Friday?
No, I was sitting home.
Really?
I was there Friday, all day Friday, but I was gone before.
I thought you said you were gonna be there all.
Yeah, I was there. Emma won the championship.
Oh, good for her.
Champion for, was it Western Ranch or whatever? The
Yeah,
morning.
that's a new class we think for the last couple of years. Special shows. Western Horse Ranch.
Okay, you guys stretch your legs and everything, all right?
What are we going
You're
to
done,
do?
so we can move on.
The batteries, I'm assuming that's what we're going to next.
I'm sorry?
Lynn was just asking, are we going to battery next?
Yes. Yes. I've got the one here with all your comments on it,
Okay.
along with some of mine.
Is that what we're going to?
Yes. Nope, the Albion, or the Berry one, no, that's the Alfred, that was like a support.
Oh,
They have two two of them.
This is the one that, we had Alfred and Albion.
Town of Berry battery energy storage system.
Yep, that one.
Oh, I meant to look that up, Carrie. Number 2.4. Section 350-201, statement of purpose.
Yeah,
And 4, you asked about comprehensive plan. There is nothing, I'm pretty sure there's nothing mentioned in there whatsoever about battery storage, because it wasn't even thought of when this was finalized in 2017.
right. So I guess
So-
that, I just felt like maybe that wasn't appropriate to put in until like, maybe if we update our comprehensive plan and then update
Yes,
this, but it doesn't really fit with what we're doing right now.
unless, once again, I think that'd be a question for Tom and or Wes to see if there's some verbiage in there that they are referring to, but we're not clear enough.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask them, I just didn't do it before tonight. I will check that out.
Okay. On page 2, my next question, I just didn't know if the dedicated use, I put Y next to, E under dedicated use buildings, fences and screenings are not considered a permanent structure. And I just didn't know if that was because, it says here that they're defining it based on the international building codes. But I just wasn't sure why that would be included in this definition.
I don't know, and that's just it. I think there needs to be a definition of what they consider permanent structure. If it's permanent to last until it falls down or whatever, or is it a component of the energy producing system?
Right.
Because it could be wind, it could be photovoltaic. So it could be either one. Now, at the time of decommissioning, that would be something that would be removed. So therefore, in my mind, it's not a permanent structure that would last forever. It would be removed at the end of that project. But once again, it's the definition.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I think that this is different than, when we're looking at solar arrays, you're talking about, they come in and they're talking about there's no foundation, it's very different than when you're talking about a building. And like for a battery storage, my impression would be that this would be more permanent than, like, this would be more like an actual structure, a building that, you could remove the contents and the building would still be there. And so in my mind, a battery energy storage system is not really temporary, even though it's in connection with temporary proposed projects or potential temporary projects. I guess I am of the opinion that it shouldn't be considered a temporary.
Well, in my mind, that at the demise or the decommissioning of that energy production facility, they don't need that anymore, not just the contents, but the whole building and everything. Cause usually they're like a big, large steel container, at least today that they use, and the ones I've read about, they're just large steel containers.
Okay.
It's
And-
not like they build a concrete building to put them in.
They don't have they don't put anything down to put them on? Like any
Probably
pads
they do a
and stuff?
concrete pad. We'd have to look at decommissioning closer on that.
But even if they take everything out of it, can't use it but for storage, battery storage, it's right here, it's more to be used for that purpose, that building.
Right. I feel like the whole, I guess I personally, and this is just kind of, I don't like how the solar, the wind, everything is being referenced as such temporary structures, and that eventually they could go back to agricultural use, which is, you know, what our comprehensive plan and everything discusses and focuses on. But what I have a hard time with is that these projects are huge investments for our state, for, you know, whatever way you look at it, and the return, you know, I don't know, it just seems like it's a very large investment for a very short-term gain, and I think that they're putting them forth as temporary projects, but is the idea not to have it be for a longer term, whether they're updating them or fixing them or whatever needs to happen for them to last longer? And I kind of feel like it's a little bit of a loophole, like, oh, we're gonna put these down as temporary. I don't know, I think of a time where I was speaking with a past town board member about, where Walmart is in Batavia, it used to be agricultural, and then they permitted it for something else, and then he said it was never going back. It's never going back to agricultural. It's never going to, you know, when you start making these acceptances or allowances, that's when, and you think, well, oh, it's only temporary, or oh, that's when you start going down a slippery slope. Just something to keep in the back of mind. Not necessarily pertinent to exactly what we're referencing, but.
You had a question about non-participating property and structures and saying that we don't need those, but you have, like I said, right in front of the Baird project, right on 98, that family that lives right there in that house, which is not part of the project, but they're living right there, so.
Well, I guess that why I'm saying that we don't need those is because I don't think that they're referenced at all in this version of the law. So there's nothing
in
that
the law.
I didn't see, and I didn't do, let me see if I can do a control F quick.
I thought sure that we did put that in the law as well, because basically the law was a modification of our wind law for the solar law. And in definitions, I thought most of the definitions were carried over.
So I'm looking up non-participant. And it's in the definition. In the definition twice. And maybe I wasn't doing this on the computer, I was doing it through a read-through. So on my read-through, I didn't catch it, but maybe I missed. Removal of trees should be minimized to the extent possible. Noise, 1 hour average noise generation per battery and the storage system components associated with the equipment. At the outside wall of any non-participant resident or occupied community building.
Which one are you reading here?
So it says non-participating, so, sorry, it's kind of hard for me to say on this one because it's on, very muddled. Let's see here, let me look through this way.
Non-participating property or non-participating structure?
Yeah, I was looking at those definitions and I felt like we didn't necessarily need to have, include that, and actually, yeah, that's a better way to do it, thank you, Sean. Because I didn't see non-participate in my read-through, I didn't see those terms used. And so I just thought that they were, extra and not necessary. If, John, can you do Control F and then, if you type in non-dash, for, like, just participants, you can see. So it says non-residential properties, it's just like the terminology isn't the same. So I think it's gotta have the hyphen in it. So to pick it up. Yeah, so I'm not, let me see here,
Still says zero, zero.
okay. So I have, let's see here. The only place that I see non-participating, but it says non-participating residence, it doesn't say non-participating property or non-participating structure, which are the definitions that we have. And that's in section,
Isn't this better that we have it defined and it's standing, it's there?
but if we're not using it, and it's not, like, if we're gonna have it, it should be, consistent with what we have in the law. And what we have in the law is in section F, we have noise. And we have, noise level of 40 dBA as measured at the outside wall of any non-participating residence. And so we have non-participating residence, where that, maybe we should change that to non-participating structure.
But this is a law which is all encompassing for the town, that we have no idea about future projects, especially when it comes to community projects like Bear Drive.
But if we're looking at it from the standpoint of, this is storage, like energy storage, the Bear project told us they're not gonna be using.
No, the two solar projects at this time,
Right,
both of them have said very clearly, they do not plan, they're feeding straight into the power system.
right,
But 5 years from now, 3 years from now, someone might apply that want to use a storage unit.
right. And so what I'm saying is that right now, we have definitions for non-participating property, and we have a definition for non-participating structure. Those terms are not used at all throughout the law.
Okay,
Look,
where are you, Carrie? Just interrupt you, because I can't follow.
Yeah.
Where
sorry,
Sean, Sean pulled something up.
yep, so,
Where is that? Do I have it in this?
yes. So if you're looking at, it's section, here, section,
Page 3,
it's page 6.
oh, you're on page 6.
Yep, page 6, F, noise. In the middle of that paragraph, oh shoot.
Non-participating
we have
Residence.
residence, right, but in our definitions, we have structure and we have property. So I guess that I would like to change residence to structure on that noise section, or actually, I personally would just like to say from the property line, because as I've had an issue with every law that we've passed so far in regards to property line versus residence.
These are,
Now,
we're
which
not
one?
talking setbacks here, we're just talking about identifying property
But we're
or
talking,
structures that are not participating in
Right,
whatever that energy, system
but
is.
we're talking solar here, right?
no, we're talking battery
No,
storage.
Battery storage, which could be utilized
Solar
by
or
either
wind.
wind or solar.
But there's no noise.
Yes, there is noise, so,
The battery storage?
yeah,
You got the fans, they have to be kept cool, you got the fan system in there, you've got the power generation where they have to change it from, what is it, DC to AC.
right. They,
So there is some noise that is produced, it's like a humming sound.
and it's a constant,
Yeah, I've never gone by them, I guess. That's what they do.
there's not many of them.
No.
So, Sean, I understand what you're saying, that like these are the definitions, but what I'm saying is that,
It does not comply or match with what's on page 6 right there.
right, and I think that it should, so like I would like to see it non-participating structure, instead of residence. And I will still say.
On page 6, you wanna
Yeah.
change the structure.
And then I think that we don't use, non-participating, property. And like it's supposed, like the definitions are supposed to be for the terms that are used in the law.
Definition.
And it's not used in the law, so that's why I was asking if we needed, like I'm fine if we switch F to structure, leaving the structure definition in there, but I don't know that property is necessary.
Okay. Okay, with participating property, you were saying that it needs to be changed. Because first they're saying participating property, and then they say in the definition, any structure.
Yeah, so, and this is another one where we don't have, like, in the wind law, there were specifics where there was, like, setbacks based on if you're a participant or a non-participant and things like that. Whereas in this law, there aren't those differentiations. And so this not only does it say any structure when we're talking about participating property, but it also says, with a wind generating company.
Yeah, it was
And-
specific saying wind generating, which I circled as well.
Right, so I just think that entire, either changed or just removed as well. Because I just searched nothing in the document that says participating property.
section 350-204, number 5. Letter D, as you point out, Terry, and I question that as well. What is a maximum lot size? It says maximum lot coverage of 75%. Define what a lot is.
Right, are they talking parcel?
Yeah.
Are they talking multiple properties?
And it's a storage system, so how big of a lot? I mean, you take like the north side of the Bear project right there, that energy storage system could be huge.
Right.
Could be 4 or 5 acres large then. So define what a lot is.
I don't know, Sean, when I went over this, I mentioned to you, each E, I think it is, on page 6, the vegetation and tree cutting. I had a question regarding as far as clearing this combustible vegetation undergrowth on an annually maintained.
Oh, yes.
That's once a year.
Yeah.
We wind up out here with a lot of trees and stuff growing.
Yeah, you're gonna get a lot of vegetation in that year.
I would say at least probably about 6 months, every 6 months. Winter, we should be all right. During the summer, it's not.
Right.
Especially with this rainy weather we had here last month there.
Unless they're spraying around
Stuff
those
sticking
things.
out.
I had the exact same thing. I said maintain more than annually. Yeah, I think that if they're gonna have like a grass, I don't know, it should be
Well,
like-
it says in it, vegetation tree cutting area within a 10 foot of each side of the tier 2 battery storage.
right. It should be clear. I mean, I guess that I kind of would like to see it done as often as a residence, like we have, you know, requirements for lawn mowing, you know.
You'd be mowing it twice a week this summer.
But I mean, that'd be part of the business. I mean, it's a fire hazard if they don't.
I wouldn't agree with the year.
Yeah, I don't. I agree. I don't think that's appropriate. Because I personally would like to see the same as what residential, you know, how residential lawns are supposed to be kept
Weekly or bi-weekly.
during the summer. Yeah, right. No, I think it's like, isn't it a height that it has to be kept under a certain height or something, so that it.
I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
Maximum building height is 35 feet.
You were talking earlier on decommissioning the, windmills. And decommissioning here, we've got it up to 3 feet, so 3. G.
Yeah, I underlined it and put 4, just so we'd have that consistency too. Yep, same deal. I also think that in our application, the section going back a little bit to page 5 at the very top, application for installation of tier 2 battery energy system shall be, and then we've got it listed out here. And I was wondering if maybe we should include in that application a decommissioning plan. I know we have decommissioning rules, but we should probably have them submit that in there with their application. And then for what Tom was just sharing too, that decommissioning G, number 1, it says the following requirements shall be met for decommissioning. And I guess I would change it like the following information shall be included and met for decommissioning, because the first thing, that we have here, we wanted to put the anticipated life of the battery energy storage system, but that's not a requirement. So, or maybe switch that to with the application.
Well, the decommissioning is a large part of the application itself.
But we don't list it as being part of the application. I mean, I agree that it should be, but it's not included. for under G decommissioning, section 2. I also, that we should include there the no salvage value.
Yes. Which is what we have consistent with our.
Right. Yeah, sorry, under section G decommissioning, number 2, that we should add in there, because it says decommissioning cost shall be determined by an independent professional engineer during the application for the battery storage unit, and we should put, and shall not include any salvage value.
Under eight, excuse me, H, number 8. A little confusing to me.
Wait, say that again, sorry, Tom.
H number 8.
Commissioning plan.
Confusion.
They're referring to the uniform code and so forth, and who does it, and it's gotta have a professional license for engineer and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go over, commissioning and included results of the initial acceptance testing required of the uniform code to be provided to the code enforcement officer, who will forward to the town board after review prior to the final inspection and approval to maintain a appropriate on-site location.
Long sentence.
Does that mean that we, that certificate we post on the outside of this building someplace? Or we keep it here in the town hall? Or?
Probably both would be safe, but yes, it have to be, it should not be on the outside of the building, probably, because it's gonna be closed off.
Right.
So you're not gonna be able to read it from outside the fence, but probably posted at the fence entrance.
So the code enforcement officer will look for her, make sure it's all good, and go to the town board.
And the code, I believe is what they're referring to, is the energy code, New York State Energy Conservation Construction Code.
I assume that.
Well, they do have the second code there, which is the fire code section, but I don't think that's the one you're referring to.
code kind of covers all those things. There's probably a section that does fire, does the other. Shouldn't, number 13 on page 8. Shouldn't we get the, fire safety, Dale Banker and them?
Yeah, the county emergency response team. Yeah, I have them written down here as well. I mean, we need our, you know, really, it's not just our fire departments. If something really were to go bad with this, you know, they'll be calling in Alba, they could be calling in Albion, Clarendon, East Shelby.
Elbow, no.
Anyways, yeah, the surrounding adjacent fire departments, they could possibly be calling in, so they all need to be trained as well. You got COVA that needs to be trained. The one I keep forgetting the name of, Mercy Flight. They need to have the training as well. And then on top of that, then you got the emergency response team, which is the county one, which is the, Dale Banker and his team. Carry over on page 9. I'm trying to understand what you wrote here. Under special use permit standards, number 4, screening and visibility for battery energy storage system shall minimize from adjacent properties. You go 50% year 1, 75% year 2 to 3, and 100% visual block.
So here's my thought process on this. Driving by like Batavia and going to Hamlin Beach State Park and other places, I'm seeing all of these, and I'll be honest, I'm solar arrays, not the
Energy storage.
yeah, not the energy storage units. But I feel like they're going to be using the same kind of visual shield strategies, and maybe they won't be. But I guess where I'm struggling is I'm looking at these and those trees are dying. They are not surviving. They're not actually doing anything visually to block that area. And, you know, that's the intent, that's the purpose of them. And it's, in my opinion, from what I've been seeing around in other communities, it's not working. And so I guess this was just kind of a way to say, like, give some standards. Like, they can't just put up trees and be like, oh, we put up trees, they all died, but we did what we said we were going to do. And so I was just thinking, like, well, what if we put in place that it needs to be, you know, because I know they have to grow too. They're not going to be able to put in right away something that's going to block it. And I guess this is a little bit different because you could probably put up a fence with a greening, you know, or do some other things. But it was just a brainstorm while I was reading through this to try and think outside of the box on ways to better visually screen areas.
I think what the problem is with those trees all dying is they just plant and say, there, we did it.
Right, they don't go back and water them or do any type of.
Exactly,
Right.
look at how dry it was there in the
In the
late part of
beginning.
spring, early
Right.
summer.
Right.
So, yeah, so maintenance of,
I think we could just put maintenance in.
Right.
Not put a 10 to 20%.
And I'm fine with that. It was just as I was reading it, I was trying to think, okay, how can we prevent this from happening? I also was just looking up, because I hadn't gotten a chance to earlier, like what it says, special use permit standards for setbacks for tier 2 battery energy storage shall comply with the setback requirements of the underlying zoning districts for principal structures. And I just looked up a multi-family dwelling setbacks, because that was the first setback, like a principal structure setback that I came across. And it's minimum front setback 75 feet, rear setback 50 feet, and then 20, and that was sides too, I think, and then 25 feet from all interior roads, driveways, and parking areas. And my concern is just like fires or explosions on these, and I just didn't. I don't know. That seems like it isn't very much, but section it's page 9, I1. The first number there. Do we have an updated fee schedule?
It's in process.
Cause I was just thinking like before we put this out, we should have kind of a fee schedule created for this, if we're gonna include it in section 14.
Are we done with this?
I guess. You got everything taken care of on it? Any other questions pertaining to it? I was reading those last two under section 350-2D1-8. The one thing I kept putting in here when they're talking about inspections and everything, I kept putting in to be paid for by the applicant.
Yes.
I kept putting it in everywhere in here.
After the applicant's expense.
Okay. Everybody got a copy of the minutes from last board meeting, right?
Yes.
You had a chance to look those over, right?
Not.
I'm just referring to them. I'm not going over them right now. I just wanna make sure everybody had a copy of them. Okay, the agenda for Wednesday. Obviously, Heritage. AES. Storage, energy storage. Anything else?
I don't think that it necessarily has to be on the agenda, but what I had emailed in regards was the question about this, the Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center program that supports Genesee and Orleans County. This was, last week, or last month, I'm sorry. They said that they have free policies and ordinances in regards to the, like policies for our parks and just for the town and things like that for the marijuana stuff. And it went through and, explained a lot of like the local opt-out and what we need to do and all that. And I was just wondering if we had, requested, if you'd like me to, I don't mind requesting that those policies, draft policies and ordinances. It's all free and I feel like it would give us a good starting point.
We can't wait till December on that. We're gonna have to probably act on that no later than November. The thing with the state is you opt out, you can always opt back in whenever.
But you can't,
But if you opt in now, you can't get out.
doesn't make sense.
I know.
No.
Like, it's
But
like, well,
that's-
you can't learn, like, I don't know, it just, New York State.
Yep. So we're gonna have to discuss it and decide. I don't know if we have to, I would assume, come up with a law if we, I don't know, that's still a discussion yet.
Right.
I haven't gotten much more information.
This, I think that, cause they go through, well, they included the Office of Cannabis Management, what is in the local, government, so I'm assuming that their policy will include everything that we need to have, but it,
What was that word you
I
used?
assume, I know it happens. But I mean, if we can get it now and at least be reviewing it and looking it over, I feel like it would, be a good thing.
Could you look up that website and see what they have, if they got a pamphlet like, and send copies?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is if we want to allow,
Marijuana.
yeah,
The
Well,
sale and we cannot say no to the consumption because it's already been approved for recreational use. Anywhere you smoke a cigarette, you can smoke a joint.
okay.
But what it is do we want to allow the sale, a store to open up selling cannabis? And do we also want to allow
Growing.
like a smoking lounge?
To
You know, they
me,
have those cigar
I know.
lounges, you can go on and buy a cigar and sit there and smoke
Yeah.
it.
I think
well,
the
the same
simplest,
idea for
the
this.
simplest thing is to say no.
I agree.
I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about.
But we have to have it in writing, and then
Yeah,
just,
well,
this
we
just
have to
gives
give
us a,
justification and everything, so.
But growing it, we don't have a say over that either, so like,
Really?
they can grow, commercial, or residential, I think it said they can grow up to like 6 plants per adult in a
Yeah, I
building,
think
and,
that's what it is, for recreational use.
yes, for their own, and then if they have a medical use for it, they
Yeah.
can grow more. So, it's definitely interesting.
As far as commercial grow, it's gonna come up with a few $1,000 future permit.
Yeah.
A hundred and something it is.
I just don't understand how the federal government says it's illegal. How can states say it's legal?
Right.
I mean, why have the federal government? I mean, if you're not gonna go by the federal government rules, or if the state says yes, and the federal government says no, guess what? You get no more federal aid. I mean, you gotta, I don't know. I guess I'm too old for this.
It's politics.
It is.
Can't stand
And
politics.
I think it's totally wrong.
Is there anything else?
I agree, if you got a health reason, and it will help your pain.
Yeah.
But anything besides that, tough.
We're just setting ourselves up for more.
Oh, yeah,
problems.
definitely. That's all you're doing.
Anything else, anybody?
No.
If you think of it, send it to me, please. Text it to me. Okay then, I guess we're done. Thank you, everyone. We got a long day next Wednesday.
Yeah. We're starting at 5:30, right?
Yes.
That's what we've got down. I mean, I've got
I'm
down.
gonna look at my calendar right
I
now.
could be wrong, but I got
I
it.
thought I wrote it at 6.
No, I wrote it at 5:30.
Yeah, we originally 6.
6, and then we added that other hearing,
Yes,
the other
yes.
public hearing.
That's,
And
and,
then we had 2.
We've got two,
Yeah.
one from 5:30 to 6 and one from 6 to 7.
5:30 to 6 is the public hearing on the Baird project. 6 to 7 is a public hearing on the energy storage
Yeah,
systems.
okay. I just wanna make sure I got the time. right.
Really, it could, it might take an hour on the public hearing on the Baird project and a half hour on the energy storage system, who knows? But that's an hour and a half prior to our board meeting to cover both topics. Okay then, thank you everyone.
I gotta get this answer. It's driving me nuts. See you next, yeah.
Yep,
next
see you
week.
Wednesday.